Okay, so good morning, everyone. So another episode of our SLG compliance series. So we've got actually a great team with us today. So we've got Leo Ramirez and Bibi and Don Swanson from 5-Star Legal. So Leo's going to kick us off and talk about eDiscovery. Bibi's going to do a demo, and then there's going to be a panel kind of discussion with between the three of them. And then we'll close things out. And of course, if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to put them into the chat window, and we will save some time at the end for some verbal questions. So that being said, I'll hand it over to Leo.
All right, thanks. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and good morning to everyone. Like Tony said, my name is Leo Ramirez. I'm a compliance technical specialist here at Microsoft. I have Bhavana Bhatia joining me. She goes by Bibi. And also we have Don Swanson from 5-Star Legal joining us, who's gonna let us know how government customers, how he's helping government customers with advanced eDiscovery. So today's session is about advanced eDiscovery. And if you have responsibilities that are related to data discovery or investigations, you're gonna find today's session interesting on how this solution, Advanced eDiscovery, can help you streamline your eDiscovery processes, right? Again, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Let's go ahead and get started. So I wanted to begin with this slide because these are some of the challenges we're hearing when working with customers when it comes to eDiscovery. The biggest challenge is they often need to collect large sets of data and then export that data. And this process can take a long time.
Okay.
I think someone muted Leo.
We lost your audio, Leo.
Yeah, he'll have to unmute himself.
Okay, thank you. What was the last thing you heard?
Right. Collecting a lot of data.
Yep, gathering data.
Yeah, so this is typically what we're seeing when talking to customers. They have this large volume of data that they're collecting, then they're exporting it, and this often creates a bottleneck, but it also increases the risk for this data being protected, because usually there's some security and compliance measures in place. Also, these are some of the concerns that we see when working with state and local government customers. You usually have a records manager like Richard, who has responsibilities for ensuring that data is being preserved according to the requirements for the business or regulatory requirements. And then you have someone like Jennifer, who's general counsel or an eDiscovery admin. Bibi and I hear her, people like her saying things like this: I need to make sure we can find the data we need when we need it, but many times I don't know how to search or find it. And by the way, I need it as fast and as quickly as possible. Another challenge often in the government space is with Steve, my friend, the IT admin. Lots of times he's the one that's responsible for collecting data and creating these cases, even though he really doesn't understand much about eDiscovery. During the demo, Bibi's going to show you how advanced eDiscovery can help both Steve and Jennifer. Another challenge we often see with customers is that have multiple solutions. And having multiple solutions for eDiscovery really increases risk for things like data breaches or violation of privacy issues. And also, this transfer between these different systems makes you more vulnerable to things like data loss or data spoilage. And obviously, this also inhibits what the ultimate end goal is: getting to your data faster. So I came across this interesting. Can someone please go on mute?
One way.
Right. I came across this interesting survey that was conducted last year about how expensive eDiscovery can be. And I was really astounded, to say the least. Just to point out a few, for examiners, it can cost between $250 to $350 an hour. And for licensing for eDiscovery services, could be between $50 and $100. And there's also costs associated with hosting the ESI data and whether or not it has analytics or not. These are just a couple samples that I took from this survey to show you how expensive this process could be, which you're probably well aware of already. So this was a study that was conducted by an independent party who was actually a global provider for eDiscovery services. And in this case study, a legal team was tasked with exporting data from Microsoft 365, 35 gigs of data. They then processed the data, they ran their searches, and further exported relevant data for production. And this process with the third-party provider took over 58 hours. Now, using this same 35 gigs of data, the same legal team used Microsoft Advanced eDiscovery and performed the same processes, and this was 48% faster, all because of the analytics that's built within Advanced eDiscovery. And ultimately, the legal team was collecting, processing, and analyzing data and exporting data from where it already lives. And it took 30 hours and 28 minutes, as you see here. More than likely, many of you on the call are already familiar with the electronic discovery reference model. And moving through the eDiscovery processes, we see it should reduce the volume of data. And by the end of this processes, the goal is to have only the data that's really relevant to the case. Microsoft capabilities can help you through these processes using a single platform. In last week's session, we discussed how you can use Microsoft Information Governance to help you preserve data where it already lives. You can also use Core eDiscovery to help you in these 3 stages of the EDRM process. Now, Advanced eDiscovery, it takes things to a whole nother level and helps you through these other 3 stages, which again helps you achieve your goal and is streamlining your eDiscovery processes so that you can get to your data faster. In addition, in the demo, you're going to see how Advanced eDiscovery keeps your data secure within the platform, because that's where the data already lives for things like email, files, and Teams communications. It also provides capabilities for importing data that's not currently in Office 365. Now, before we get into the demo, let's cover 2 more things that customers ask a lot of questions about. We get a lot of questions about permissions. Now, members of the eDiscovery Managers role group, these members can access and create cases, but they can only access cases that they create. They can't access or manage the cases created by other eDiscovery managers. Can someone please unmute? There's also another role group called eDiscovery Administrators, and these members of this group can access all cases in Core and Advanced eDiscovery. And the only thing they have to do is add themselves to a member after the case is created. Now, another question we get is, well, who needs the license? Is it the admin or the user? So any user that's in an Advanced eDiscovery case must have one of the flavors of E5, Office 365 E5 or Microsoft 365 E5. But if you have E3 license, you can also purchase an eDiscovery and Audit add-on. Common question from customers is, does the administrator need the license? The answer is no. The administrator does not have to be assigned a license to use Advanced eDiscovery. Another common topic for government is how to restrict searches in a case to only the users relevant to the agency that they belong to. So, and this is especially important in state and local government because many of you are in a shared tenant. So, and we do have a capability called compliance boundaries that addresses this critical need. Essentially, here we have an example of two different departments. This is typically here a central IT who's hosting the services in the tenant, and these are the different agencies. Permissions can be configured so that only eDiscovery managers and investigators in the finance group can search in this compliance boundary. And they would have absolutely no search capabilities in the Department of Transportation agency. Now, with that, I'll hand it over to Bibi, who's going to demonstrate how Advanced eDiscovery can streamline the eDiscovery processes in your organization. Take it away, Bibi.
Thanks, Leo. Let me start sharing my screen here. Is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Thank you. All right. To get started with eDiscovery within the organization, your global admin will have to first assign users to appropriate role groups within the compliance center. So let's say I am logged in as a global administrator. So let's go to permissions and then let's go to roles. And then here, let's click on eDiscovery Manager. I can find the eDiscovery Manager here. So let's search for this group. And here, an eDiscovery Manager can create cases and they can manage cases which they have created or to which they have access. You can add your IT admins and public records officers here. If you want to delegate eDiscovery tasks to legal team, you can also add legal team members here. An eDiscovery administrator is like a super user, and they can see and manage all the eDiscovery cases in an organization. If required, you can add your global administrators here. So now that we have permissions set up, let's go to the Advanced eDiscovery portal. So let's assume I am an IT administrator or a legal team member or a public records officer. And as an eDiscovery manager, I can now start creating eDiscovery cases. Creating a case is pretty straightforward. So create a case, provide a name, provide a case number, description, and then click on save. Now I have already created several eDiscovery cases here, and I can show you one of my cases. You can see that there are several tabs inside this Advanced eDiscovery case, and they align to the Electronic Discovery Reference Model or EDRM model that Leo mentioned in one of his slides. Now, before proceeding with this case, we can configure the settings for the case. We can provide access to other eDiscovery managers to this case. And we can also configure search and advanced analytics for the case. These settings will simplify your review process and help you with culling any irrelevant data later during eDiscovery. You can turn on features like near duplicates detection for content, as well as email threading and OCR. OCR is optical character recognition. That means it can extract text from image files. If you know of any text that should be ignored, example, any lengthy disclaimers in emails, you can exclude that from analytics by specifying that text here. Typically, in any investigation, you start the case by adding a custodian. The custodian is basically an end user in your organization. When you add a custodian, you can associate their data sources to the case and also put those locations on legal hold. So let's add a new custodian here. And let me add a user called Christy. Now, one of the biggest challenges organizations face during eDiscovery is to find the various custodial locations in Microsoft 365. So Advanced eDiscovery helps you easily find the custodial locations. Like here, you can see Christie's mailbox, Christie's OneDrive for Business, and also all the teams that Christie is associated with. So let me include this team here with the custodian for the investigation. Then you can put the custodial locations on legal hold. Now, putting content on hold is usually done in a litigation case. It may not be mandatory during a public records request or a Freedom of Information Act requests. In such cases, you can uncheck this hold option here and you can continue adding your custodians. Now, I have already added a few custodians here. If you don't want to associate collaborative locations like SharePoint sites with the custodian, you can separately add non-custodial data locations and place that on hold. Sometimes you may have to add hundreds of custodians in bulk to a case. Advanced eDiscovery makes it very easy to bulk import custodians using a CSV file. Now I have added 2 custodians already, Megan Bowen and Joni Sherman to my case. Once a custodian is added, you can also view the activities of custodians using Microsoft 365 audit logs. So audit logs can help provide additional insights about the users during investigations. I have already opened the audit logs for Megan Bowen here, and you can get insights on whether Megan is deleting content from SharePoint or is she removing any sensitivity labels from files, etc. And this information can help you a lot during investigations. Now, sometimes you have to preserve or hold only content from previous year instead of preserving the entire mailbox. So in such situations, you can create query-based holds from here. All the holds in Advanced eDiscovery are in-place holds. That means you don't have to archive or move the content to a separate location in order to place legal holds. So if your organization is using legacy archiving solution, then Advanced eDiscovery can help you consolidate the architecture and also save on additional storage costs. Sometimes due to compliance obligations, the legal team might have to notify the custodian that their content is on legal hold. Now, instead of doing this process manually or instead of using third-party solutions, you can use Advanced eDiscovery's inbuilt legal hold notification workflow, and you can notify the custodians via email. Custodians can then acknowledge those notifications, which can be tracked by the eDiscovery managers. Now, I have already created a communication here, and I can show you how that looks like. So here you can use a rich text editor to define legal hold notification email templates. You have to just embed this acknowledgement link in this template. And when custodians receive this mail, they can click on this link and the workflow automatically tracks their acknowledgement. You can define hold issue, hold reissue, and hold release email templates. You can also send reminders to non-responding custodians and also escalate to their managers. You can configure the number of reminders or escalations that you want to send and also the interval of these emails. You can also choose which custodians you want to send these notifications to. Now, I have already sent the legal hold notification to my custodians. And let's see how this email looks like for the custodian, Megan Bowen. So let's go to Megan Bowen's PC. You can see Megan has received an legal hold notification mail, and she can click on this acknowledgement link here, which automatically tracks her response. Now, when the eDiscovery manager goes back to this communication, they can track the status of the communication. They can see that Megan has acknowledged the notification, but Joni has not shown any response. The next step is to start collecting the information from various custodial locations. So for that, let's start creating a new collection. So I am going to perform a public records request search. So I'll give it a name here. Now let's set the scope of this search. So I can select custodians that I've already added, which I want to search, or I can select all the custodians that are part of this case. We can also search all the non-custodial locations which are a part of this case. And then we can extend the search scope to all the Exchange mailboxes or SharePoint sites within the organization. I can also specify what I am searching for or what information I'm trying to collect here. So for that, I can specify keywords, or I can specify Exchange properties or SharePoint properties as well. So for this example, I am looking for keywords like Falcon or Brown Fox. We can first get the search collection estimates and view the sample results. And if the results look good, we can collect the search results into a review set. Now, for the sake of this demo, I have already loaded the collected results into a review set. You can think of a review set to be a cloud location where you can apply advanced analytics that will filter out immaterial items or duplicate items. And then your public records officers or legal team members can review that content and categorize the items as relevant or not relevant to the case. So let's open this review set here and see how it looks like. The collected items have been loaded into this review set, and you can see there are 95 items that were collected inside this review set. We can run document and email analytics on this review set to eliminate duplicates and construct emails into threaded conversations. And we can also check reports that show us a distribution of different types of content in this review set. It will also create a query automatically called for review. And in this review, you can notice that I have to review only 63 items instead of the original 95 items. So duplicate items were removed, which makes my review process less time consuming. Now, since the content is in place, all the metadata of content is preserved, and you can use more than 60 properties to filter the items in this list. So example, I can choose date filters, I can choose sender or recipients, tags, and so on. We can then apply these filters and also save these filters as queries and reuse them later during investigation. Advanced eDiscovery also provides an advanced query builder, which allows you to group various conditions without having to write complex KQL queries. We also provide a search profile view, which provides a visual distribution of content in the review set. And this can provide more insights during your investigation. So I already have a sample profile view open here. And you can easily see who are the top recipients of emails that were sent by this custodian, Megan Bowen. So I can then use these analytics during my investigation. Now, if there is custodial data on on-prem file shares, we can also import such non-Office 365 data into the review set. You can also extend advanced eDiscovery to data in third-party SaaS apps. We provide several data connectors that your administrators can configure. You can then import content from text messages or social media platforms into the user's mailbox, and then you can perform eDiscovery on that content as well. So now emails and documents from SharePoint, OneDrive for Business and Teams messages are available in this review set for me to review. So it's time to investigate. If I click on this email, you can see that emails are neatly arranged in the form of a threaded conversation. So it looks like there are 6 individual emails and some duplicate emails as well. Instead of going through these 7 different emails, I can just read this one thread with proper context for my review. Next, let's take this document here. I can go through the contents of this document, and it looks like there are 2 near duplicates. I can ignore these duplicates during my review, but if at all I have to review them, I can check those duplicate documents. And instead of going through all the duplicate documents cover to cover, I can quickly do a side-by-side comparison of the duplicate documents with the pivot document that can help me save a lot of time. Now let's see how Advanced eDiscovery does Teams eDiscovery. So Advanced eDiscovery makes it very easy to perform Teams eDiscovery. If you're looking for a keyword, instead of getting only the Teams message with that keyword, it pulls up the Teams conversation thread so you can get a context of what the users are talking about. And if these users have shared any documents in the Teams message, then those modern attachments will be pulled right here into the review set so you can easily review them. Advanced eDiscovery also helps you to identify keywords from image files because it supports optical character recognition. So you can see this image here that has some text. And if I click the plain text view, you can see that the keyword I was looking for, which is Falcon, is available inside this image. You can also further annotate and redact content from inside the review set. You can preserve these annotations and redactions when you export the content. We can also create our own metadata tags here to classify the data in the review set. So example, if I find this content relevant to the case, then I can apply a tag called relevant to the case. Then we also provide smart tags called attorney-client privilege, which is based on artificial intelligence. So it finds legal content and it shows up as attorney-client privilege positive if there is any legal content found within this particular document. Now, the idea of review set here is that your legal folks can now perform their review right inside this tool instead of exporting huge amounts of content and doing an offline review. So now let's say I have finished reviewing the data and I've finished tagging all the items that are relevant to the case. Let's filter out all the relevant items. So I'm going to select this tag here. So these are all the relevant items to my case. I can now export this relevant content to produce it to my attorneys or other stakeholders. So I'm going to select this content and I'm going to export it. We provide various export options like you can export reports only, or you can export emails as PST files. You can export emails and documents as loose files in a directory structure. You can also now export content to an Azure storage account. So here you can safely download the content and securely share that with external attorneys instead of downloading it to network file shares or sharing it via USB drives or CDs. So this was an overview to show you how Advanced eDiscovery can help you consolidate various systems and also help you with culling the data, reduce the review time, and also save costs. So now I'm going to hand over the session back to Leo.
Thank you. maybe for an overview of advanced discovery. Very, very helpful. And we also have with us today Don Swanson from 5-Star Legal. How you doing, Don?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Leo. And that was a great presentation, BB.
Yeah. Don, one of the questions we have for you is, how are you helping government customers today?
Great. Well, thanks for including us. 5-Star Legal and Compliance Systems is a Microsoft 365 eDiscovery partner, and we work with state and local governments across the country. It could be the states and the state agencies, including the state attorney general's offices and cities too. And really, we help them with content search. I think that's at its core what we help the teams with. It could be for public information requests like BB highlighted, FOIAs and PRAs. But increasingly, there are other use cases. For example, the InfoSec team for data loss protection is using compliance search, investigations, often HR investigations, and of course, the traditional eDiscovery is a litigation use case. And the legal team brings us in to help work with IT. So that's what we do.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Don. And with the upcoming Microsoft API for eDiscovery, Graph API, are there some scenarios where they might also want to bring you in?
Yes, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yeah, the Graph API, which is currently in preview, provides opportunities to do automation and reporting. And that's something that we can offer to you and really help, especially from the IT side, help you work with the legal department. You know, Leo, about 75% of the searches we're finding are being run by IT and InfoSec. And the inside joke is that 100% of the time, those people don't like working with the attorneys. Because understanding the content search syntax and the collection nuances and the time involved in export is not familiar to legal, and IT has the responsibilities. So, Graph API can really help with automation of that. And also 5-Star Legal and Compliance Systems has a role in serving on particular matters or overall processes.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. And one of the things I remember about Don and 5-Star Legal is when I was on the Microsoft Fast Track team, Don and his team actually came in and gave us a training session on from the legal aspect of using advanced eDiscovery. And I learned a lot. Are you still doing these workshops?
Yes, we are. Yes, thanks. And that was really a great honor for us as a partner to be asked to train the Microsoft team. And we work closely and have relationships with Microsoft's own legal department, as well as the product team that's actually responsible for developing the Microsoft 365 eDiscovery product. I did want to point out that we're having our 6th annual Microsoft 365 eDiscovery workshop April 19th and 20th. And it's a great place for state and local government folks to come in. I just dropped something in the chat, which is a link to the Eventbrite page. We're going to have people from Microsoft there. And we would hope that we would also, it's a ticketed event, by the way, but we would also hope that we'd have some SLG folks.
Thank you so much, Don. Thank you for joining us. And I hope to be working with you soon. So
Great.
This was today's session for Advanced eDiscovery. Does anybody have any questions for me, BB, or Don? Feel free to come off mute or drop them in the chat.
Yeah, I'll start off, Leo. So what about encrypted data?
Yeah, so we do support encrypted data that if it's encrypted with Microsoft Azure Rights Management, eDiscovery administrators can decrypt those documents during the collection and review phase. And we can actually drop a link to a support document in the chat. Good question, and that's actually one of our common questions.
Thank you. We also have a question from Michelle. Does this have the capability to also search the user's local PC?
Good question, Michelle. In this scenario, as Bibi was walking through the review process, data that's on a user's local hard drive can actually be imported through a process, which will associate it with the appropriate custodian. So that is a capability within Microsoft 365. You actually have to import it.
Okay, we have another question from Joseph. He would like to know if there will be an option to hold all Exchange mailboxes and SharePoint sites, using a query-based hold.
Yeah, this is one that we can bring back internally and follow up with you, Joseph. This is also a common question.
Okay, we got a question from David asking if we can redact information.
Yes, you can certainly redact within the review process. Bibi highlighted that within the demo session.
Yep, that's right.
You can redact keywords, images. You can use area redaction. And is that what you're referring to, David, or is there something more?
He said yes, thanks.
You're welcome.
It looks like Joseph Lupo put a design change request in for the query-based hold. I think that's the one he's talking about.
Gotcha.
What about using a retention policy?
Yeah, I can take up that question from Joseph. So Joseph, if you want to put the mailboxes, like if you want to retain the content for a certain period of time, you can use retention policies. It is available within the Compliance Center. So example, you can say, I want to retain all users' mailbox, say for 5 years. So behind the scenes, litigation holds and retention policies kind of behave the same way. They retain the content in place. All right. So currently you cannot put a blanket hold for all mailboxes from eDiscovery portal, but you can do that via the retention policies.
And we've got a Jeff Rockover with his hand raised.
Pronounced it relatively close. I just have a question. I'm looking at the connectors, the data connectors, and all these different things that you can connect to. So let's say top one was Android Archiver. Lightweight agent in the background records all Android messages and
I'm sorry. Can you guys hear Jeff?
Sorry, my mic is a little further away. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, that's better.
So I'm looking at the data connectors, and I see all these different programs and applications and different ways of connecting through, let's say, physical badging, pivots, Ring, ServiceNow, maybe not that, so on and so forth, and or like so Verizon SMS Network Archiver. So you can get a copy of SMS text messages. Is that something that is being explored, or is that hard to implement?
Now, in order to use the data connectors, you do have to have E5 licensing.
Gotcha. For everyone, or just for the administrator?
No, it would have to be for anyone that you're going to associate that imported data to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that, let's say Verizon SMS Network Archiver, anyone who has a Verizon phone would have to have that higher license.
Right. If you're going to be importing those messages into their mailboxes using the connector, that is correct.
Okay. Just trying to find the limitations and what happened.
No, very good question. Thank you.
Okay, we have Joseph Lupo with his hand raised.
Oh, yes, thanks. Hi. That was a very good presentation. Thank you very much. I liked all the eDiscovery tools. The only thing, see, with the retention policy, I'm getting back to that. It doesn't allow you to, it allows you to hold mailboxes and all data in there, but it doesn't allow, like if we do it, the way we do it is a query-based hold, because when we get a lot of claims at New Jersey Transit, you know, we don't know who the custodians are initially when the claim comes in, and we have to put things on hold. So if I do a query and want to hold across all exchange mailboxes, that kind of, it doesn't help me to do I can hold all the mailboxes, but that's not, you know, it doesn't make sense for us. So hopefully in the future, they recognize that they need that ability to have that all mailboxes in the query when you search, instead of just adding custodians there. So that's my big gripe. I mean, all the tools, I mean, if I can roll this all into Microsoft, it'd be great. The tools are good. It's just I can't put the hold across the organization like I would like to. That's it.
So for this requirement, Joseph, you can explore retention labels. Retention labels is available within the GPI compliance and information protection and governance licenses. So if you know the conditions beforehand, you can apply those conditions and apply retention labels to content in mailbox. And then you can define your whole, like, do you want to put that content on preservation for 2 years or 3 years? So yeah, definitely do explore retention labels. That capability is already available within the Compliance Center.
Well, can I just ask one quick question? I don't want to usurp the whole time here, but with a label, a tag on the retention policy, does it allow me to retain anything like certain data, keywords, and things like that? I don't think it does. So it doesn't do what I'm looking for. So
the retention labels can automatically be applied to keywords as well as Exchange properties and SharePoint properties as well. I can share you the additional information.
That would be great. That would be good if you could put that in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah, we could also schedule a follow-up with you, Joseph, you know, with either Leo or BB to kind of, you know, walk through that.
Okay.
Yeah, and to add to what BB was describing, we also have a new feature called adaptive scopes, which may meet your use case along with the retention policy. So we'll definitely follow up with you, Joseph.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have another question. I'm not sure if we saw that one for team. So this is from Michelle. For team searching, is it only limited to the channels created by a user, or can it search chats and data imported, downloaded externally?
So the searching is whatever's being captured in the channel and the Teams chat. So if it's being shared, then it's being captured in the Teams, the SharePoint site. It's without within the Teams channel. And if it's being shared, an item is being shared in an individual chat message, it's going to be captured in the user's OneDrive. Is that answering your question, Michelle? Or is there something deeper than what you have there?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, it was easier to just go on mute. That does answer it. Sometimes we have cases where we're trying to figure out where this user uploaded or downloaded a file from. So that kind of led to my initial question if it could search local users' PCs. So we would be able to figure out locations of where files came from.
So Michelle, typically when the user shares documents in Teams chats, the documents get uploaded to the OneDrive for Business sites. And when they share documents in Teams channels, the document gets uploaded to the Teams SharePoint sites. So when you're doing your investigations, you will be able to find these modern attachments inside your review set. And you can also see the path of the custodian's OneDrive for Business where those documents were uploaded. Okay, So you will be able to find those attachments and you can perform the review seamlessly within your review sets.
Got it. Thank you so much for that information.
Thank you for the excellent question.
So any other question? Any other questions? Guess not. Okay, so once again, so thank you everyone. Thanks to our presenters today. Thanks to the attendees. You know, the session has been recorded. Will be posted up to our YouTube channel, and we've got another exciting presentation planned for next week, talking about privacy management. So have a good week, and thanks for attending. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.